It's Newstead right here on your Classic Metal Show with King of the Underdogs. And you know what I took away from that, Chris?
What's that?
That Jason is the king of the underdogs.
How can you say that guy's the king of an underdog?
I took that from the song.
Oh, is that what you got?
Yeah, that king of the underdogs, since they repeated that line probably 15 or 20 times in a row. King of the underdogs.
Yeah, he's definitely the king, as he said. King of the underdogs.
Yeah, I got that message. But good interview with former Metallica bassist Jason Newsted. Now, I realize Metallica is, probably one of the biggest metal bands that has ever existed up to this point. And, do you think Jason minds that everybody, who knows the Jason Newsted name refers to him as the former Metallica bassist?
I don't know. You know what? Jason's one of those dudes. I mean, you could tell he still loves Metallica.
Yeah, of course. I mean, without Metallica, nobody would even know who Jason Newsted was.
Yeah, let's face it. The guy's got $100 million in the bank because he was in that band. So, on that level, I think Jason definitely loves those guys. But I think Jason has always been, and, anybody that's ever met Jason knows, if you've ever spent any time talking to that guy, you just get that he just loves fucking being a musician.
Well, at this point now, with the fact that, again, I don't know what his bank statement looks like, but we can assume that he's set for life.
Yeah. He
can pick and choose what he wants to do when he wants to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I gotta stop saying that. His time in Metallica gives him open rein not only to doing new projects, but being in any band he wants to be. I mean, he wanted to do Ozzy, so he was in Ozzy. That's simple. And Ozzy's not exactly a small band either. Jason Newsted he's just a cool dude, and I think you've met him before, haven't you?
No, never have.
Oh, you've never met him?
No.
I mean, when you meet him, he's the same guy as the guy that was just on the phone. He's well thought out, but he's kind of cool, He's just he's definitely the coolest guy that was in Metallica of the 5 guys that I've met that have been in Metallica, meaning, the 4 with his lineup and Robert. He's by far the coolest of the 5. So just a cool guy and, loves metal, clearly is doing what he loves to do right now. So, good for him.
Sure. Now, that story you told about, taking the beer from the, catering table.
Yeah.
That was actually before you and I had met.
Was it?
Yeah.
98?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was just around the same time, just before we met. And, I was actually at that show.
Yeah, that was a great show.
I was like 4th row side stage, since it was in the middle of the arena.
Sure.
But I had gotten tickets, some guy that was at WSTB had tickets, and I bought them from him because for some reason he and his chick couldn't go or something.
Okay.
And I bought them from him at a reduced price, and they were like 4th row. So
Sure.
I was right along the edge of the stage, and it was a great show. Actually, and I know people are going to say this is blasphemous, but I actually enjoyed COC better
than Metallica that night, huh?
Yeah, that night. So, it is what it is. But I went to the show. I saw it. That was, and like I said, this was before I knew you. And you obviously had the hookup that I didn't have. So you were, backstage and hanging out with those guys per se, and you got busted taking a beer from the Metallica table, as it were, and you got a good story out of it anyway. So anyway, good interview, Chris. So anyway, we've got Brian-tichy, I believe, coming up here in a very, very short time. Not really sure if we're going to get a hold of him or not. He's supposed to come on the show. The fact that he's going to be part of the show tonight was a little bit sketchy, but hopefully he'll be available to talk about his departure from Whitesnake, as well as some of his solo projects, and being the drummer on the TNN, the Tooth and Nail project as well. And we'll find out what Brian-tichy is up to here very soon, and
sure,
see if he could shed some light on his career for us.
Well, it's interesting with Brian. I mean, he put out a big statement this week about leaving Whitesnake, and he wasn't in Whitesnake that long, was he?
I would say probably about 6 years.
Was he in it that long? Did he play on the not? I know he played on Forevermore. Did he play on the other one?
I think so too. I think he was on that as well.
Okay,
Yep.
I didn't realize he'd been in the band that long.
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while.
Okay. Well, there you go. He's got a little piece of Whitesnake history.
Sure. So
as do 900 other bands.
Well, when
right?
I think about a band like Whitesnake, who has never had a solid lineup,
sure,
they've almost had record to record lineups.
Pretty much. I mean, there's always a change every time from every album. There's always a change.
So I definitely, if we speak to him this evening, I definitely have to get his viewpoint on the, what do you want to call it, the philosophy of David Coverdale when it comes to musicians. Because
I just wonder with being in that band if you're always worried about getting fired.
But that's kind of where I was going with that, because if you go to like a Wikipedia and look up Whitesnake,
yeah,
there's been didn't we do that one other time where we looked up Whitesnake to see how many members were in that band at some point or another, and it was like over 40.
Well, let's do it right now.
There was like 40 musicians or something that had been involved since the late 70s.
Let's see. Whitesnake members. Wow. Under past members, it has a link to see list of former Whitesnake band members. Current lineup that it says right now is David Coverdale, Doug Aldrich, Reb Beach, Michael Devin, and Brian Rudy. So I'm going to click the former list, and it took me here. Where's the former musicians? And it doesn't have a former musicians. What the bloody fuck? I clicked where it said to click. List of former Whitesnake band members. And it doesn't list them. What the fuck? Oh, wait a minute. List of band members in David Coverdale bands. Oh, here we go. Is that your phone?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard your phone ringing. All right, let's see. Where's Whitesnake? First Whitesnake era. You had, for the first album, see, this is going to take a fucking...
Yeah, just count them. See, just kind of...
But I can't, because it breaks down by every album who plays on it. It doesn't just say, these are the guys.
Right.
It just says, for each album, it says fucking the names. First album is Coverdale, Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden, Neil Murray, Peter Soley, and David Dowie on drums. Second album, Coverdale, Moody, Marsden, Neil Murray, John Lord, and David Dowie. Third album, or the third lineup, I guess. These are lineups, not albums. Third lineup is Coverdale, Moody, Marsden, Neil Murray, John Lord, and Ian Pace. Next lineup is Coverdale, Moody, Mel Galley. Didn't he die? Mel Galley?
I'm not really sure.
I think he's the guy that died of cancer 3 years
ago. Oh,
ago.
yeah, that's right. Not long ago.
Yeah, now this is a whole different lineup. It's Coverdale, Moody, Mel Galley, Colin Hodgkinson, John Lord, and Cozy Powell.
And Powell's dead, too.
So that leads to the next lineup of 84. Coverdale, Sykes, Galley, Murray, Lord, and Powell. Next lineup is Coverdale, Sykes, Murray, Cozy, and Richard Bailey. Next lineup, Jesus God. I'm only up to 85.
Right.
Next lineup is Coverdale, Sykes, Murray, Ainsley Dunbar, Don Airy, Bill Como, Adrian Vandenberg, Mark Andis, Dan Huff.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was in that band.
Giant,
And Denny Carmassi.
From Giant.
Yeah, there you go. So that's through 87. Next lineup, 87 to 88, is Coverdale, Vivian Campbell, Vandenberg, Rudy Sarzo, and Tommy Aldridge. That's like the big lineup.
Sure.
Next lineup would be Coverdale, Vandenberg, Sarzo, Tommy Aldridge, and Don Airy. Next lineup would be Coverdale, Vi, Vandenberg, Rudy Sarzo, and Tommy Aldridge. That takes us up to 91. And then it goes on from there, and it doesn't even... Oh, here we go. From 2002, you've got Coverdale, Aldridge, Beach, Marco Mendoza, Tim Drury, and Tommy Aldridge.
I think actually Warren DeMartini was actually in a lineup in the 90s.
Warren DeMartini? Oh, I'm not seeing his name here. I don't see his name listed anywhere. I see Tony Franklin, Steve Ferris. I'm just picking names that I haven't read yet. Brent Tuggle, Guy Pratt. God damn. Paul Merkovich. Oh, there it is. Yeah, Whitesnake, Greatest Hits Tour, 94. Warren DeMartini.
Yeah.
My God. Is there anybody that hasn't been in Whitesnake?
Well, that's my point. I think over the Whitesnake history or career that's been over like 40, different musicians.
All right, here we go. Now, this is good. Here's a timeline that lists all the guys. So David Coverdale, Deep Purple and solo, Whitesnake, Coverdale and Page. All right, here's the musicians that David Coverdale has worked with. This will be good. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Richie Blackmore, Tommy Bolin, Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden, Mel Galley, John Sykes, Vivian Campbell, Adrian Vandenberg, Steve Vai, Jimmy Page, Warren DeMartini, Steve Ferris, Doug Bossy, what's this guy's name? Earl Slick, Doug Aldridge, Reb Beach, Glenn Hughes, Roger Glover, what is that? Delizal Harper.
Okay.
Alan Spanner, Neil Murray, Colin Hodgkinson, Rudy Sarzo, Jorge Jesus, Ricky Phillips, Guy Pratt, Tony Franklin, Marco Mendoza, Uriah Duffy, Michael Devon, Ian Pace, Simon Phillips, Tony Newman, Dave Dowie, Cozy Powell, Ainsley Dunbar, Tommy Aldridge, Denny Carmassi, Chris Frazier, brian-tichy, John Lord, Tim Hinckley, Brian Johnston, Peter Soley, Richard Kelly, Lester Mendel, Brett Tuggle, Paul Merkovich, Derek Hillard, Tim Drury, and Brian Rudy.
That's 51.
Holy fuck.
51 people through that door.
51. Wow.
Yeah. So there you
that
are.
That would be a lot of people.
over a 30-year period, more or less.
He basically meets up with 2 new guys a year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So, it changes. It's just a rotating, revolving door.
That's craziness, man. And yet all the Whitesnake records, I mean, by era, I guess there's like 3 distinct eras of Whitesnake. There's the early stuff up to 87. There's up to 84.
Well, there's the late 70s into the mid 80s.
Right, up until Slide It In. And then there's that Slide It In self-titled, Kitten's Got Claws, whatever that album's called.
So that's like 84 to 89.
Yeah, that era. And then there's the newer era, the more modern stuff, the more recent stuff.
Sure, the 2000s more or less. Because Whitesnake, for all intents and purposes, really didn't exist through the 90s.
Yeah, that's when he was doing all those shitbag solo records, Into the Light, and just garbage.
Right.
But, that's amazing, though, when you look at that. 51 musicians. Good God. It's crazy talk.
So, anyway, there you go. Little Whitesnake history for you.
Yeah. It doesn't look like Brian-Tichy's going to call.
I don't suppose so.
What the fuck, Brian?
We'll talk to him. Never
The whole show was based on your call, and you didn't make it.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah, he could have been like CJ and, postponed or said, nah, I got to do something else.
Or heard about us and said, fuck that shit.
Sure. So I'm assuming he was supposed to call us, yeah?
He was supposed to call us at 12.
Okay. All right. So it's 10 after, so he ain't calling.
Fuck it. Move on.
All right.